still get that little a little cough which hangs around for ages. They say. This is.
Did Judy get it?
Yeah, Judy got it too, I'm afraid, but she got it earlier than I did, so she was over it earlier than I. So you know, she's now comes down to sing in the choir at. They have a rehearsal at Forest Lodge Primary School, so she does that, and if you can last the night out with her throat, she should be able to.
Right, the recording is on. So
yes, all right. Well, look, everyone. Well, we wait for Ross, or give him a chance, I suppose.
oh, I guess he can miss the first few. He'll be
all right. Well,
here
look,
viewing anyway.
this is welcome everybody to the ANS meeting at Noble Numismatics for Monday, the 10th of July. This is meeting number 1238.
Everyone signed the
So
book.
multiply that by 52 and divide, you should get the number of years that we've been meeting.
Yeah, but we don't have 12 meetings a year.
That's
in
true,
a lot of
that's
cases
true,
and
whatever number we
there,
do.
so-
But it's been going a long time.
Yep.
So welcome everybody, and has any been visitors? No, we're all members.
Well, John
definitely.
until 20 minutes ago was a visitor, but he's now a member.
Quite a few apologies. Tony Hall, Les Carlisle, Matthew Lloyd, Morris Lyons, Ron Bolden, Joe Detling, Mary Brad, Robert Tonner, Barry Towers, Barry Scott, Peter Dunstan and Bruce Short.
And Colin Pitchfork.
And Colin Pitchfork. Got to write that in, eh?
Yep.
Don't have a pen, you write that
He
in.
wanted to wish you all well and just couldn't.
Oh, yes, right, thanks.
Should we write it in the book too?
Okay, is there any general business people would like to raise at this point? No. Next meeting is at the Roseville Club again, Sunday the 13th of August at 1:30 or a bit earlier if you want to have lunch there. The topic is Australian decimal paper notes. Not my thing, but I'm sure a lot of other people like it. So I must admit, when they got rid of gold out of circulation, that was when my interest dropped right off, and I wasn't there at the time. So it's the start of the ANS year, and Rod is taking renewals, as you know. Also distributing in these little things the
journal and the medal.
The journal and the proclamation medal.
Yep.
Rod's keen to make a little dossier of topics that you'd like to have for next year's program. We've got a little highlight that never somehow gets around. We'll let Rod know. And tonight we're lucky to have Jim to show us the highlights of his coming auction at the end of the month. And so I'd like to invite Jim to give us a presentation on that. And we always enjoy it, as you know, and don't necessarily buy all the coins, but we like the look of it, right?
Okay. All right, thank you, David, and welcome to our office members. It's always a pleasure to do this little talk about our upcoming auction and show you some of the things that you haven't seen before, probably. And I'll start by saying, has everybody got a catalogue or seen a catalogue? I'm going to go through the sale in catalogue order. Did you get a catalogue, Ross? You got one in the mail?
No.
Oh, there's one on the counter for you.
Oh, thanks.
Young Grant's going to bring it to you.
It's a
There you are.
personal delivery. Thank you, sir. I like that.
And we've got a visitor too from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Paul
Hey,
Neumann.
buddy.
Selamat malam.
Well, he's a
Means
member.
good in-
Yeah.
He's a
Oh,
member.
yes. I've played up, I hope.
All right. Well, we'll start with giving Rodney. I could give you the Victoria Cross first. That's not in catalogue order, but maybe we'll get it out of the way.
Yes.
It was on television tonight on Channel 9 News.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see it, Ross?
Yeah.
Oh, was it good?
I even heard it on the 2GB coming down here.
Yeah.
On their 7 o'clock news.
Was it good?
Yeah.
That's all on the TV.
Makes you want to own one, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There are people for whom the money is no problem.
That's right.
Billionaires can buy it.
So when was this awarded?
This was in World War II,
Milne Bay.
Milne Bay in New Guinea.
Okay.
The man who won it was Corporal John Alexander French, and he was nicknamed Jack, and he kicked off in the war in 1940, and he went to Africa. He was in Tobruk, and then Menzies, against Churchill's wishes, wanted to bring some Aussies back from there to train in the jungles of Queensland to answer the Japanese attack on the Pacific. So he was pretty experienced. He was a barber. His father was a barber. He came from Crow's Nest near Toowoomba in Queensland, and he was leading this group of men, the 2nd 9th Battalion, and he just said, "Just stay here while I take out this machine gun post." And there were 3 Japanese machine gun posts, and he took out the first one with grenades, came back, got the rest of the grenades, took out the second one, and then he'd run out of grenades. So he held his Tommy gun at hip high and just kept firing and charged and killed them all, but they shot him and he died. So it's a posthumous award and the most outstanding act of bravery. He really gave his life, but it did stop the Japanese. It was their first defeat in the Second World War, and it's caused them to stop marching over the mountains to go to Port Moresby. And so, although there was fighting in New Guinea for a long time, but that was a very significant action. And it's come to us through the family. It's been, before he went to war, he made a will in 1939 and left everything to his father, and then his father left it to his mother, French's mother, and then went down to the nieces. And a lawyer contacted me and said, well, you know, we want to sell this VC, and it went from there. So I was lucky to get it, I think. You know. A lot of other people would like to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
a
do you think-
valuable thing.
Do you think it'll go to the Australian War Museum?
Well, they may put up the money and buy it, but I doubt it. I think
Someone
they'll look
else
for a
may buy it
benefactor.
for them, though.
Yeah, and even if someone else buys it, they can lend it to the War Memorial for display, and that keeps it secure and insured. And a lot of them are there, still owned by people. They're not all owned by the War Memorial. But I'll be interested to see what happens, because you know I've got so much else happening. You know, I haven't been able to pursue prospective buyers for this.
So
So getting it on TV helps a lot.
he was in the desert first, was he? That's where he got the Africa
in
Star.
Tobruk, yeah, he was a rat of Tobruk.
Right.
So they're court mounted, so they're hard to see. You can't see his naming on the edges, but the VC itself's worth looking at because it's got the naming on the back of it, on the bar and the date. And it's exactly how they did it on Channel 9 today. They were intrigued about the secret mark, which is a little notch in the bottom left there of the cross. You can see a little. There's his name, his number. He's a Queenslander, QX number.
Yeah.
Corporal John Alexander French, 2nd 9th Infantry Battalion AIF. See, Rodney's got a good picture here. I think that's probably clearer than what Channel 9 had. And the date, 4th of September 1942. So I'm very, very excited to have it, hoping that it'll earn me a good buyer's premium. Helps pay a few bills and.
When was your
Keep
last
the-
one? The last
we
VC?
had a BC a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years, 5 years ago I think, but it was World War One. We've only ever had one other World War Two, and the argument by the family was, well, you got 1.2 million in 12 years ago for one, and we think this one should be valued at 1.5 to 2 million.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't want to upset
So
you.
it's more recent, it should be worth less.
Yeah, well, it's sort of that was a 1945 World War II,
Oh, that
1.2. So it's and there was a bit of publicity for this one because Ben Robert Smith's case was being talked about, and they were talking about the value of that medal. And I said, look, it's pretty 2 million, and then the journalist decided. I said we've got one coming up. It so happens. So he ran that in the Weekend Financial Review about a month ago.
Yes, Ben Robert Smith has sort of besmirched the value and a little bit of.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing because
It is.
the man, obviously at the time he deserved to win his VC, but since then you can't account for what will happen to people in terms of personality, mentality. You know, some of us go a bit crazy, don't we? And war is, I mean, those wars these days are very treacherous. There are sides that have no rules, and we have to abide by rules. But when it's a citizens involved, that's a problem, a civilian. So the Ben Robert Smith case is always going to be argued about. But I argued that's after he won the VC. Yeah. We'll see what happens, eh? We'll see if Mr. Stokes takes an
Yeah, I was
interest
just
in
going to
this.
say, have you heard from him at all?
Well, no, but I mean, he normally gets on the phone or he gets a lawyer to go, and his son Ryan is here. But the last one we had, the World War II one, he was on the phone to me, but my Melbourne office, Jill had someone else on the phone and he outbid him. Interesting, isn't it? Well, that's currently on loan to the War Memorial, on display there. So we've said a lot about it, but it's on the front cover of the catalogue, you can't miss it. And what's interested the journalist who was here today, Mike Dalton. I sat here and he sat here. I sat there, and he was fascinated with the letters written home to his mother by French, and there's a portfolio, a folder of them. I could show them to you, but he said this is fascinating.
But it's the story behind them that makes them.
That they go with the...
Well, they go with the lot, yeah. So it's very special. He was very excited about it, and he showed some of the pages on. But I haven't read it. John O'Connor catalogued it, and he's covered the main themes and everything about the group and the action. So I'll go on now with the coins. Put the VC away out of your way here, and keep all the precious things aside. I'll just put that there and go now with the coins. Starting with, in lot order, the sale is interesting. Like last one, we have an sale only, the first session, which is confusing because the reason we have to call it first session is it allows for us to do the publishing properly. We got a problem last time when we didn't give it a number and we gave the session, actually called it the first session. So anyway, it's a complicated thing. But remember, Monday, the 24th, is online only, and it doesn't close in order, but it starts closing at 9:30. So some lots that are constantly being bid on will keep open, whereas other lots that you might be could close. So you've got to keep. It's very hard to. I don't like the system, but that's what Mobility have got at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's about 846 lots, and it includes a lot of daggers from the Tony Wood collection. He was a major collector of Persian and Indian antique firearms and things, so he's got a wonderful collection of these things, and he's passed away. And then we've got a collection of World Bank notes, including a lot of Zimbabwe notes in quantity. For you people who want to be rich in trillions and trillions of dollars.
Worth nothing.
Well, they're worth money, funnily enough. A pack of 100, we sold one for $6,000. We've got them in at $2,500. We've got to be up.
Paul used to have lots of them, didn't you? Those Zimbabwe notes.
I took them back from the Reserve Bank, but not at that point in the inflation.
Yeah.
It was more towards the beginning.
You had the travellers' checks and all the other stuff.
And
Yeah.
you never see them again.
Yeah.
So, some of the denominations I took out, but when I went to South Africa, most of the people there, they took them off me. So.
Yeah, the chap who gathered this hoard was in South Africa, and he ordered friends that he had in Rhodesia and Zimbabwe to get to the bank and get them. So some of them come with the original labels and
But
things.
it's not entirely risk-free.
Yeah,
With that Monday session, I mean, people should just put in maximum bids.
they should.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's just so
whatever
much
is
easier
the
to
maximum
say,
you want to pay, just submit it. And,
I mean, it starts at the reserve and it
and
goes up.
it doesn't show your maximum bid. If there's no other bids, you'll get it at the starting bid, which is 60% of the estimate. I mean, we want to clear this stuff, especially all that literature from Mark. But you know, you people don't bid on it. No one bids, so I have to buy it just to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm executive for the estate, and I've got an office, which is a room which is completely full of books I
Mark's
bought
stuff.
from Mark.
On board.
So I had to buy it, and I thought, well, what's the cheapest option? Tip it or sell it for peanuts to someone who can take it. But you know, this is a shame, isn't it, what it's come to? But he had them all in his house. They've still got a couple of storage units at Warriewood with stuff. I'll have to get to it before.
Those were the
November
days,
auction.
Jim. Those were the days.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Mark refused to be a rare coin dealer after he left us. He wanted to be a pure collector, so he decided to deal in numismatic books.
Yeah.
So he called himself MEF Books. Yeah. So I'm still handling that estate. Now, the sale starts with miscellaneous Australian coins on the Tuesday, and we go through. Then we've got mint rolls, and then we get into the fourth session. It starts with some Australian tokens. That's a nice Sydney threepenny token of J.C. Thornthwaite. You can see the initials there, JCT. Silver token 3. He made this in 1854. On the other side you've got the coat of arms and the date 1854. Now, they say £5 or so of these were struck. Face value, so about 240 or something.
I think that's upside down.
1854's, there you got an angle there, that's it. It's quite a nice example.
Yeah.
The estimate's $1,200 and I received a bid today which is over the estimate, so I must have undervalued it.
It's that's some scarcer type than the one with the grass tree. And
Oh yeah, the Hogarth and Ericsson. Yeah, this is Thornthwaite's own threepence. He did a threepence for Campbell of Morpeth and his own one. So it's a good, desirable piece. Following the tokens.
Hang on, let me just write the number down.
Yeah, sorry, Rodney. Yeah,
1261. Yep.
The next one I'm showing you is lot 1293. Bit of nostalgia here. It's an historical medal, agricultural from Springshire in Queensland, and it's silver medal, quite large. But I remember the estate I first got this medal in. The guy, an eccentric guy, used to go around town buying all sorts of war medals and medallions and that from the dealers. And he ended up dying, and I had to take heavy trunks of all this stuff, all jumbled together without any order in it, and auction the collection. His name was Ted Andrews, and it's a banana branch.
Thomas Gillespie.
1868.
Colonial bred rams or something, is it?
Yeah,
Banana
colonial
branch,
bred rams.
It's
Yeah.
the Queensland Pastoral Society, Springshire. So there must be a little town called Banana. And it's an interesting medal. It made good money in the old days. And probably the trouble with a lot of these things is they don't always keep going up in price.
No.
So you buy things because you love them, I think. That's the first and foremost. This is a lovely medal. I thought the condition was so good for such a large silver medallion.
Oh, yes.
Very busy design with a beehive and a steam engine and a horse. And covers all aspects of industry and agriculture. The National Agricultural and Industrial and Association of Queensland. Just in lovely condition. And, I think the estimate on that was a few $100, I think $600. It's got a recipient's name there.
In Victoria.
Does it say Tasmania there?
Well, it was a Queensland. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tasmania.
No,
So the guys in Tasmania who's won it,
yeah.
it's a bit hard to read, isn't it?
W. Peach.
William
Peach?
Reach. Reverend William Reach.
George William
Oh, it's George.
George William
Reach.
Keach.
Keach, is it?
Keach.
Keach.
Order of Merit, next
Goes
John,
well with the banana.
Yeah.
for wool exhibition.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lovely medal. There are quite a number of medallions in the sale. The next one I'm showing you is an unusual parliamentarian's gold pass, and I haven't tested it for gold, but someone had a go at it, cut the edge, a little nick in the edge to test the gold, I guess. Yeah, it's got a bit of weight and it's nicely struck, and it's Commonwealth of Australia, the coat of arms. So it says Commonwealth Parliament, and underneath it says Casey. Now whether that's Casey the seat or Casey the man,
Casey the
someone might tell me, but I didn't give it to John, so there's no research with it, so I just catalogued it and got it done. So there might be an opportunity for you to buy something there. Do more research. Doesn't look that ancient. It looks like it could be 1950s.
Yeah, that's the 1951 Jubilee. Florin had that sort of
Yeah.
cross.
Yeah.
I would guess it's Casey the seat.
Yes, yes. So that finished that session. Then in the what's called the fifth session at 4:30 p.m. we have some Australian Commonwealth coins, which starts out with some patterns and proofs. The reason I'm showing you this is it's a 1920 square halfpenny. The last and only specimen I sold in recent years I sold for 325,000 when the boom was on.
Is this a
Wouldn't
lead
make that
pull, is it?
today, but this is a lead pull of the obverse from Hagley's collection, and the person who bought this paid 80,000 for it from the Rare Coin Company, but we've got it in for 5,000. So a great rarity.
Let's see.
It's only uniface on the other side, Rodney, so it doesn't really matter.
Do you know who made them?
I think they were done at the Melbourne Mint and Stokes as well.
Right.
And Richardson was the engraver, and then later on Bertram McKennell did the. I've got a Richardson one here now, an actual square penny, Kookaburra penny, which is in nice condition. 1920 square penny. With the usual ones are 1921, but this is the 1920. The die works okay, but it's not fantastic on the portrait. But that's how they made them. And the Sweff, who was the mint master, was very, very keen to promote this nickel coinage. And he carried one around in his pocket, which we sold many years ago, which got quite worn because he kept using it in his pocket and showing it to people. He lobbied the politicians, hoping for them to accept a square nickel coinage. But you can see it's in lovely condition, got a mirror-like feel. So to buy this, it's about 40,000. They used to bring over 100,000. So with the Australian market, you've had a very big promotion when superannuation was allowed and people pushed prices higher and higher. They seemed to have investment money, and it all came undone when a couple of the big dealers failed. And so there's been a readjustment. It's very hard to value things. You have to tell people when they come in. Like this Nest coin I'm showing you, the guy's had it in his bank safety deposit for 16 years. He went and got it, gave it to me at the last minute for the auction. It's there's no space in your album for a 1919 shilling, but there it is, a 1919 shilling. It's got the S's on it for specimen. It was made in 625 fine silver instead of sterling silver, and not as low as 500 fine silver, which the later coins were. But during 1920, there was a lot of fear about high prices for silver. They must have prepared these dies for 1990 shillings, but not minted them. And it's the same for the 1920 florin. They were experimenting with that and putting a star above the date. So this coin is estimated at 90,000, but the guy who owns it paid 225,000 16 years ago to the Rare Coin Company. But there are only two in private hands, and recently one, not quite. I've sold both of them, but one not quite as nice as this was sold by Belinda Downey at Coinworks for 75,000.
1919 M.
Isn't it unusual that there's a coin with the same series and it didn't get issued? It shows you what was happening after World War One.
And the S is for specimen, is it?
We presume so. I went to Cerity, who was in charge of note issue department. He signed the notes, Cerity Collins and that sort of thing, and he didn't send it back. So it ended up in the family. It came up in the family estate. That's how it came onto the market. And so while we're on shillings, I thought I'd show you a nice example of the scarcest date shillings, which is... sorry, no, this is a proof 1934. Still in patterns and proofs. Of course. That's a lovely proof, but it's not in a slab. It's hard to know, you know, how the... it's unmarked. I looked at it the other day. I thought, are the Chinese getting that good that they can make these now? But the 34 coins, I've had them. There was quite a few good specimens on hand because it's the first time they sold commercial proofs at the mint, and they made up sets from Florin down to Halfpenny. So that's a lovely example, and the person who owns it said it's a good one. I want 15,000 or whatever it is. I said okay, I'm not going to argue with you. Make my life difficult. This is a 36 florin proof. It was bought from Coinworks. It was in one of our early auctions. It's quite a nice even dark tone, and it's unmarked. Just a common date, but as a specimen proof, almost unheard of. Recently, a good set of Australian florins sold for $1 million. The best set known. I didn't sell it, but a dealer colleague of mine did. And I know the guy. He was a former client of mine. He's a billionaire, and he's bought this set of florins, which has got a lot of them slabbed. And the man who sold it retired. He decided he couldn't buy anymore and couldn't afford to keep buying, so he decided to sell it. And there were two dealers vying for it, so there were two prospective buyers out there. I think the billionaire won the day. That's a lovely 1910 florin.
Oh, yes.
Goes back to my early days. I like 1910 florins.
It's hard to get
The year
completely-
type.
Hard to get without bag marks or the strike of the crown and the head is sometimes difficult. So people pay a lot more for a perfect specimen.
So what's that estimate?
For 5,000, I think. 5,000. It's a lot of money, but then you don't have to worry about upgrading.
You need that in your
It
collection,
sits in
Frank.
the bank vault. It sits in the bank vault, or it sits in your album in the bank vault.
That's the trouble, isn't it?
And the next one's a 1914 florin from the same vendor, but originally this we sold from John Saxton's collection.
Ah.
He was a member and he wrote
Yeah.
Australian Commonwealth coins, and it's in beautiful condition. Original mint blue, pretty well struck.
He had a nice collection.
Yeah, I remember he had 2 or 3 hollies on it.
Ended his years up in Cairns, or further up in the Afton.
Yeah, that's right.
Lived in New York before that.
Yeah, he came down here with his wife and stayed in Sydney when we got the collection. It was quite exciting to handle it, really. She contacted us not so long ago to say she's well and good. Been back to America for a while and back to Queensland. Now the next one, a 1923, 1439. I show you this one because it's in nice condition from 1923, but the 2 carbon streaks are annoying. I would never touch the surface, but Whether they're removable or not is the question. And what caused it? Was it impurity in the metal, or was it up against something to develop that as an oxidisation? Black carbon streaks. Weird, isn't it?
Maybe the kangaroo is coughing.
Yeah. And the other side is really nice as well. So you get a lot of mint bloom on these coins, 1923. I always dream of someone bringing me in a little box of them or bag of them. Never happens. You can always dream.
You sell them one at a time. Yeah, one per auction.
The next one's a 1933 flying, which is the scarcest date, apart from the 32. This is in nice condition for 33. I think I've only got 1,500 on it. We have to get some more, oh, someone's here.
George
Pulaski.
Pulaski.
Wow.
He'll have to sit behind Ross.
He doesn't. Maybe he came to get the catalogue. What a trip you have to have on. Good to see him still with it.
Hello, George.
Hello, George.
There's a seat for you in the front, George.
Yes, someone want to put him down on the chair? Where will he go? The next one is a 1933 shilling. Remember I told you about the shilling? This is the 1933 shilling. And go with the fly, no? Not a bad exam.
What number is this?
1459. I think I'd prefer the florin.
Oh yes. Yeah, the florin's in better condition. I don't think there's a lot of money on this. Ross found the listing and trying to do estimate. I could do it, I suppose. More than $50.
750.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, it's got the full band there. With a mint blue. Next one's a Thruppets, 1920. M. Interesting deep toning in the reverse.
Yes, lovely Tony.
It's nice.
It's got a sixpence to match. This is from the Heathcote collection, an old collection we've been handling, and this
1920.
matches the sixpence of 19. We've got 4,000 in the sixpence and 2,500 in the Thruppence, so they're not cheap, but they're beautiful coins. It would be nice to have a complete date set. You know, in the last sale we sold some of Owen Fleming's coins I got from his daughter, and originally Owen had a collection like this in mint condition every date, but they had a burglary, and he lost his collection. I think the burglars probably spent the money. He worked at the Commonwealth Bank and he was collecting in the 1930s. I remember him displaying it up over there at the library in the meeting in 1960, and the coins were just immaculate. Of course, in those days they didn't cost much, not much over face value. That's a brand new 1911 penny. If only it was 1930.
I remember Lee Burford had a collection of the florins, but forgeries,
Yeah.
all made from
Lead.
you reckon from car batteries.
There's a lot of those around. They turn up. I tell you, it's amazing. I've had them even for George VI, 1937 crown as well. It's a lot rare. You can see it's a nice brand new. If all your pennies of George V were like that,
That's nice,
wonder
yeah.
coins, isn't it?
1911.
The next one we're going to show you is a 1930 penny. Now, I've been a bit fortunate with this sale. I've got 4 1930 pennies in the sale. This is the best one. Chap brought it to the camera. This one I wasn't expecting it. And,
Hard to see it
yeah.
through the plastic.
So these are all happening in the 4:30 session on Tuesday, the first live auction, in-room auctions going over there at the library. So I had the 3 or 4 people there, apart from the staff.
That's a nice condition for 30.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was quite good. I put 20,000 on it. And the last sale we had a nice one, it went for 24,000 hammer.
6 pearls. Yeah.
And there's an old chap in South Australia sent me his 230 pennies and his banknotes, his £20, £50, £100 note, amongst some other things. These were the main valuable things he had. And this is one of his 30 pennies, his better one. It's estimated 18,000, not much below the previous one I just showed you. Hard to get the lighting right on them, isn't it, Rodney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a reflection off the plastic.
Yeah. But anyway, the story about 1930 pennies is interesting because I used to buy them for £3 and £4 each. But you know, thinking I've got too many, when they went to £10 each, I did a deal with Colin. £60 worth of English tokens in copper. And then I had to plead with him when they went to £100 to buy one back. £60, hopeless. That was pre-decimal, 1960 through to about 61.
You wouldn't let Carol and Ross leave the office when I showed you the 10.
Oh, right. Yes, I
Remember?
insisted on having those.
Yeah, you had to get the chequebook out.
Jeez,
I
they were
only
the
bought
days.
them about an hour earlier.
Yeah. That was a good deal, wasn't it, for me or for you?
It's even funnier selling them to the guy.
Yeah. This is beautiful. Towards the end of that session now, we've got the New Guinea and the New Zealand coins. But I've got some nice New Guinea this time.
5 mark.
It's a lovely 5 mark. It made a lot of money in a recent auction in a good collection I had. And my customer, I didn't know what he was up to, but he actually was buying things in the room and I didn't realise he bought this. I put 7.5 on it, but he paid over 10 hammer. Against a lot of spirited bidding. Just in lovely condition for a 5 mark.
Bird of paradise. And did he have the lower values as well?
Yeah. He also had the gold 20 mark, which went for about 70 odd pounds. One of my dealer colleagues bought it. Probably regrets it. he had to outbid everyone. Now this next coin's interesting. It's got an interesting story to it regarding the Australian Numismatic Society. This turned up very late, just before closing. Well after the closing date for the auction, but we were about to go to print. And when the chap rang up, and I knew who owned it because I'd sold it way back in '81. But I'd first bought it in 1976 from Mrs. Oppenheimer, who was an old member of the society there, up at a place called Walker, on a farm near Armidale. So I flew up to Tamworth and then she met me and we went back to her place and I bought this Holy Dollar and other things in her collection. And it's quite attractive because the countermarks are upright. You can see on both sides, when you look at the coin in the upright position, you have to, not quite that much. Yeah, you can see that it's upright. The New South Wales 1813 sits up with the design. So it's desirable, but the one problem with it is it was plugged. See there, the left of the crown, you can see a little bit of extra metal on the left of the crown. And then if you go on the other side, you can see where it was plugged. So I don't know what I charged for the coin, but it wouldn't have been a lot. It was exciting when I just started to get a holy dollar. See the plug above his head, above his forehead? Yeah. But it doesn't, like if you just dismiss that, I've got someone who really wants this coin. He's given me a good bid. But, you know, it's estimated only at 30. I said, when didn't realise, I'd forgotten that it was plugged. I told him over the phone it's probably worth 50,000. I had to cut it back to 30, but anyway, because it's plugged. But I think it's a great opportunity to buy one.
The market will decide. I said the market will decide.
It will, absolutely.
What's the price on that one?
It's estimated at 30,000, but it will bring more, I'm sure. It will bring more.
Make a feature of it, the only one known plugged.
Maybe.
Maybe it was a bushranger wore it round his neck. Or,
That's right.
Who knows? Make up
But
a
she
story.
bought it at an auction in Lawson's. It could have come out of the Dangar collection or something, because that would make sense, because she lived up near Armadale, Dangar. And his collection was sold in 1953 at Lawson's. But of course they didn't used to identify them too well in those days. They wouldn't tell you the date of the original coin. Just to say holy dollar, 1813. This is an Adelaide pound, which is in quite nice condition, although the lighting's not enhancing it or anything. It's sort of early die state. Type 2 Adelaide pound, estimated at 20,000. Again, I've got a customer for this. It doesn't go too high. He missed the one in the last sale because it went for 29,000.
Similar grade?
Now, one of the pieces of importance in the sale is this next one, which a man called Chris Hall's given me his Australian sovereign collection and his coins, because he's downsizing and he's been buying from our sales, and he lives up in Queensland. It was nice of him to bring it down. Simon met him and his wife at the airport and brought them in here, and I had the catalogue at the last minute. But this he bought from a Roxbury sale when the Rare Coin Company was broken up. This is one of the investors had bought this proof 1857 half sovereign wine. It's got a plain edge. It's beautiful condition. It's one of the ones I got from England in the late 70s. I think it was in sale number 6. And he paid 75,000 for it about 2011. So it's in at 60,000 now. You won't see too many of those. I've had 3 of them. The next coin is the only time you'll ever see one. It's an 1890 Melbourne proof half sovereign, and this is one of the series that was struck by the Melbourne Mint for collectors. For years they didn't actually mint coins. They prepared the dies and they minted off these rarities. This one's one of 2 known. 1890 Melbourne.
Where's the mint mark?
Under the device under the shield. See right at the bottom near the rim? And then
Oh yeah. Okay.
between the figures of the date. So it's a great FDC, you know, it's flawless gem proof, whatever you like to say. I mean, it's in the Rennick's book at 165,000, but we've only got 40,000 of it. And you can see from the monetarium ticket beside it, on the card, it was bought for 25,000. And the son brought it in, the father bought it, he probably died, and he had a couple of nice half sovereigns. Yes, I remember when I saw those in Baldwin's collection in London. I thought, wow, I wonder when I'm going to get those, because I didn't get them straight away, because these were unheard of, these toys. There's a 55 sovereign here, which is, I remember cataloguing it first. It's, okay, you get 1855 sovereigns, but this one's unusual in that on the reverse, where the word sovereign is, the first E of sovereign is flawed. The crossbar on the E has disappeared virtually. It's just a funny peculiarity, and I thought, well, he bought he obviously likes these over-stamped varieties.
Oh, yeah.
And he bought it. It's probably a result of dye filling. They didn't keep the dye clean and something's got in there, some extra stuff, and it didn't strike up. Nice condition, should be all right. The next one's an 1860 Sovereign he bought in one of our earlier sales, this Chris Hall, and it's got a 6/5 allegedly. It is recorded in the Rennick's book and that. Lovely condition for an 1860.
Sorry, I can't
No, we can't see
get
it.
the 6/5 with the light.
The next coin I'm going to show you is one that turned up. That line across the back of it I didn't describe, so
It's
I
think
made a
it's-
note in the.
it's not the plastic, is it?
No, it's a line on the coin. I've looked at it. I think it's some sort of mark on it. I don't know how. I think someone filed the edge. An Indian probably filed the edge, and his tool slipped and cut the coin.
No.
I studied it yesterday actually. Come to that class, so I've done a little correction on that. You always should try and get the correction sheet for these auctions. That's an 1855 half sovereign, and you know it's not altered or anything because it's got the dot after the 5. It's the only time they put a dot after the date. Only 21,000 were minted, so it's a great rarity, but it's in terrible condition.
Yeah.
But it's estimated at 5,000. I showed it to one dealer, and he said, "Oh, that's all right." I thought I might have put too much on it, but the guy who owns it bought it for 1,300 in one of these funny auctions. Can you believe that? You can be lucky, can't you? You blokes were all asleep. I don't know where the auction was. It was God help me if it was Lawson's. They would be shot if they told that. This is the rarest Shield Sovereign, 1886 Melbourne. 12,000 on this one. Chris Hall bought it and must have paid a lot of money for it. I think I remember him buying it and paying a huge price for it against competitors in our auction. I'm showing you a lot of Australian coins this time because one of the features of the auction is this Chris Hall collection of Australian sovereigns. It's got every date except the 1921 Melbourne. I could have got one in, but I thought I won't spoil the integrity of the collection. He's got all the rare dates and he's got over dates and things. Quite interesting. Lot 1702. Not sure what coin this is. It's a 1922. Oh, that's a 1922 Melbourne. Is it? Yeah, this is a 1922 Melbourne. So that's estimated at about, I don't know, 20 odd thousand, is it? These we keep with the VC, the expensive box. You don't have to spend a lot of time on them, but you know they're coins you won't buy unless you're very wealthy and outbid others. Who collects sovereigns by date and mint mark here? Well, Tony Hoare used to. He used to collect Sydney.
Sydney Mint.
He couldn't get the
I've got
1923
a
Sydney.
collection of sovereigns, but only by type,
Yeah.
not date. I got one of every Australian
Is that,
mint and every
is that
Australian.
Sydney? Has it got an S mint mark there? Has it got an S mint mark?
Yeah.
Hard to see, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah, I think it
that's
is.
an S.
Yeah, so that's a rare one. That's probably next to the 26 Sydney, the rarest. Because there's a 1920 Sydney which nobody can get. Virtually. But I'm not getting the Royal Numismatic Society's Chronicle anymore, so I don't know how to chase them up. It's very hard to pay these people your membership. There's a different ways of doing it. It's the trouble when you build a good library too. You start a run and you've got to keep it going. I've got them from day one.
1920,
All the
26.
journals. I can't keep up with it all. Then I think, how long am I going to live? People are dying around me, getting sick. My wife's been ill for 2 years. I think I've got to stop. Ross has been ill. I thought, oh, there he goes, the king enthusiast. He's bounced back. He's turned deaf, I think.
No, I'm coming good. I'm good down there.
Oh, good.
Crook yesterday.
Keep away from those birds and animals.
Yeah.
Did you get my email about
I did.
doing the
No,
turning the kettle on later on?
no.
Okay. Since Tony Ho's not here to do the refreshment duty, I was hoping you'd turn the kettle
I'll
on.
just
and-
flick your fingers and I'll jump.
Okay,
You got me.
I'll do better than Russ. I'll say, Ross, would you please turn the kettle on?
This is an 1882 Sydney half sovereign. It may even be from the Pratley collection. I don't know. It was from that fabulous collection in sale 48 in 1995, and it came with the 1890 Melbourne half in a little album. Chap must have bought good coins. It's a beauty. I got 10,000 of it. Try and get a better one. Look at the luster. What's its pedigree, Ross?
No.
Oh, you got the number there.
What number is it?
1730.
1730.
33.
1730.
Ex Nova Sar 48. Earlier from Swink Nova Sar 39.
Yeah. It's a great coin. Not from your sale, eh?
No, 27 was our sale.
Yeah, well, see, it was better than yours, I think. You better buy this one.
Sounds good.
You still collecting all the sovereigns and things?
Here's an outstanding one. This is from the same source. 1887 Melbourne Younghead. Lot 17... What's the number, Rodney? What's the lot number, Rodney?
1736.
1736, Ross. This has got 15,000 on it. Look at the condition of it. I think I've got a customer who'll give me a bid on that because he likes to buy, because he remembers viewing the coins when they were first sold. He's been dreaming about them. And he did manage to get one 2 sales back. And he missed in the last sale. The one he wanted to get went for 20,000 on a 5,000 estimate or something.
I know the feeling.
So this one, yeah, it's a great coin. If Mr. Liddell was alive and here buying for his customers, he'd go for anything.
Do you get nostalgia?
Yeah,
Saying these were my babies and I
Yeah,
sold them 20
yeah,
years ago
yeah,
and they've
I
come
do.
home again.
I do.
What's the story of the 1887? How come it's not the Jubilee one, or is that
They had Younghead as
Two.
well, and then they introduced the Jubilee coinage.
okay?
So we have sovereigns and half sovereigns at Younghead. Same as England does.
The number seems to be going out of sequence. Okay,
What is it?
1610.
Oh my goodness, what have I done? Oh, I've given you, that's right, that's an interesting one where he struck the word Victoria. The first V is an inverted A. Got a crossbar, so it's actually an A. The Dicing has picked up the A punch instead of the V. And they didn't bother to worry about it, you wouldn't even notice it. But it's a very nice example of that rare coin, 1880 Sydney Shield Sovereign. I don't think, Ross, you've ever had one of those, have you? You better buy it.
Okay.
Just put them to account, do I? I was telling them earlier, I said, were you here when I said that someone sold a set of florins for $1 million? Yeah. One of my old customers. Why doesn't he come back with a vengeance? So now we move into the, after the first day, all those coins were on the Tuesday, we go on to the Wednesday, later in the day, towards the end
English.
of the day, 4:30 session and 7:30 session, we've got the English.
This is
in
more
two
your area,
sections.
Dave.
That's a Viking coin, English Danelaw, in Anglo-Saxon times. And this is probably from the Kewdale Hall. Now, this is one of a few coins that come to me from a young man called Steve Green, and he's collected a lot of very good English hammered coins, particularly Anglo-Saxon and Norman. That's what he's specialising in. And he does meticulous research and descriptions. That's why we've got very good descriptions on them, because he done a lot of the spade work. It's only $600, I think, this one.
That's the I on it,
Yeah,
It's an Edmund Memorial College.
that's right. And see, David knows all these coins.
I got one.
Yeah. So I'm glad you were here tonight, David, because you'd appreciate seeing some of these.
I don't, since I saw that one by Kevin, those coins by Kevin Duddy, I realised there's still things I haven't got in the Anglo-Saxon thing. You know, he had a Londinium one, an ordinary one, and a Danelaw one.
Okay. Yeah. This is a portrait penny of Edred, I think. Yeah. It's got a bit chippy on the edge because they're fragile, these things. But it's in nice condition. It's dark tone. It's got the portrait, which is unusual in this period. Most of the coins have got legends on both sides. But if Rodney breaks it, I'll be in trouble. There's the portrait. You can see the guy's eye and nose and funny porcupine hair. Go well in today's fashion world, wouldn't it? Okay, we'll move on from that one. It's a rare coin. These are all buyable at the estimates.
What's the estimate on this one? 23.
800.
Yeah. Portrait coin. I would have given that 30 years ago for it.
Yeah, it's still pretty popular in England, though.
Yes. Yes. This is a William the Conqueror penny, the canopy type.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reverse. And not the normal patch penny type. So you've got to it's
Upside down?
Yeah, he's under a canopy. You see, there's the crown portrait under like a big tower over his head.
Yeah. Because the purists collect all these by mint.
Yes.
You realise?
Why not?
It's a
You can
challenge.
specialise and specialise on things. It's amazing. I must say I've always enjoyed English coins. They're my favourite, really.
In 1914 it had a price of £2 on it.
Yeah. Well, that was expensive then. That's a gilt-proof 17. Now, out of the blue, a woman turned up here with coins, and it turned out to be a man called Alan Hanneman. I didn't know him, but he had a very interesting collection of farthings. And he's bought some proofs, some from Colin Cook, a couple came from Dr. E.A. Johnson's collection. And I thought, gee, what a pleasant surprise at the counter to get this collection. And Jill from Melbourne office was here at the time. And I started counting, I thought this is a very... And he had bank tokens and British trade dollars. And yeah, it's quite an interesting collection to catalogue. So when it all comes together in this auction, it's quite exciting, building it. And you've only got a couple of months to do it all in.
Looks gold.
Yeah, it's gilt proof, so
Right.
the Bolton Mint in Soho,
Gilt
in
proof.
Birmingham. Here's the start of the English gold, the Piece de Resistance. I don't own one at the moment. I should. My father got me a gold noble, half noble, third noble, quarter noble, sorry, from Baldwin's in 1963. This is a lovely Edward III noble, full coin, full round coin.
Would have thought with your name you'd have the whole set.
Well, I should have a noble. Every noble deserves a noble. But, you know, you've got to move on and sell them. Funnily enough, with coins, you can't take them with you where you're going.
No,
You've got
but
to leave them to someone who will sell them and put your heirs out of the trouble of trying to do it.
that's
why-
very noble, Jim.
Dad used to carry a
That's the
suitcase.
treaty time.
Yes.
is it?
What do you have in the suitcase?
Nothing much.
Oh,
A bit
his
of
lunch.
cheese, some old paper. Yeah. He died in 1986. Going back now. He used to come into town to see me in O'Connell Street and then in Martin Place. He was very proud. He'd get a free coffee too. He was good. He used to like, that was his hobby, having a coffee in town because he was a school teacher. Come into town and have a coffee.
Well,
Carl's
at
Coffee
Ranwood
Shop. Yeah, we taught at Ranwood High. He taught at a lot of schools. And during the war, he travelled by train to Gosford to teach. That's a nice
You know?
Unite of James, and that's got an interesting pedigree. It comes more recently from a sale we had of the Mark Bridwell collection, sale 124, I think. Very nice coin, and Chris Hall bought it. I thought, well, I bought it. Good coin. He outbid the London dealers and all to get that.
Got a whole lot of English gold too.
Yeah,
Where was he? Where is he?
yeah he's from the Gold Coast. Queensland. He's a Pommy guy. He's been here a long time. He and his wife came
What
down.
vintage? How old is he?
Oh, he'd be younger than me. He'd be, in his late 60s. He's attended quite a number of our sales, would you believe? But, when the sales were well attended, I couldn't keep up with everyone who was there. I just sit up the front and you don't realise that now.
Had a keen eye by the looks.
Yeah, he really bought a lot of good Australian gold. Some of his young head St George sovereigns are very nice. A couple of exceptional ones. I'm expecting the dealers to fight for them because they like to get them over to America and get them slabbed. Get a good grade and double the price. It's taking a long time, but I should speed up, should I? Oh no.
We've got
That's a
a bit of
nice half
time.
unit. That's a half pound.
T-shirt.
Yeah,
It's very nice.
it is. I thought it was a nice fortune. I thought I'd show you that one. Here's a William III guinea, mill coinage. Nice condition. I had a dealer from London here viewing these just over a week ago. He works for Sovereign Rarities. He's only just turned 23. So I said you could come and work here because his uncle owns a couple of apartments in the city and he came out with his parents for a holiday. I said you could come here and work. Get your boss to buy me out. A man called Ian Goldbard who stole my name, Noble Investments, and used it to buy Baldwins and then sold it to Stanley Gibbons. So he does a lot with the Royal Mint now. He puts new issues out, kilo gold coins and everything. But this is a lovely 1701 guinea, and I remember now it came from Rado's collection. George Rado used to come into our auctions years ago. He had good coins from England. This is an interesting one. This is one of the collectors from Indonesia, that part of the world. This is a coin of Sumatra, a Soho Mint gilt-proof 1804.
East
I've got a
India
couple
Company.
from Irving Goodman's collection, but they're a little bit spotted. I thought I'd show you this brilliant one, which is was bought from Coin Trends. I was telling Paul Bickerton.
Was it 3 copies?
2 keepings. There's a 4 keeping, 2 keeping, and a 1 keeping. Just nice condition. And the interesting thing is the pedigree of this is Ken O'Brien. A number of you would have remembered Ken O'Brien. He
Yep,
was
very well.
treasurer of the
MCC.
MCC. And we sold his Indian coins back in sale 44 and Chinese and that in 46, 44.
Had a good collection.
And then this other stuff was still in the safe. And his daughter lives still in Strathfield.
Yeah.
Not far
Still
from
in the
here.
same house, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's got a lot of
It's got to go.
yeah, I can take it back from you if you like.
Okay, we have them in sequence.
Yeah. I'll get them out of your way so they don't spill everywhere. This one very interesting. I was surprised when I found this one. I thought he's wanted an album. I've still got a lot of his stuff to catalogue in the next sale. But this was his. I thought this is a good collection. Netherlands, East Indies, and British Malaya. This is two sukus of Fort Marlborough, 1784. The scarcer of the two dates. Mark Friel had them, but this is a nice 1784, and he's bought it from a Thai safe. So I've got 1200 on that. That should do well. It's nice when you get these deceased estates. You can put what you like on it.
That'll do very well.
I think you need that, Greg.
All these Straits collectors and what makes for.
Yeah,
We'll want that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I love putting things in for them to bid on. Makes my day. I remember when we sold Mark's Singapore Merchants tokens. Cost him all of $200 from him in 1967, and they went for 200,000. One guy was in Thailand. He was on the phone and he bought one of the Thai ones for 30,000. I remember I got it from Ray Jewell. I had to charge Mark the going price on it, which was $15, I think. That's a nice coin, the Batavia rupee. What is it called? Not rupee. Golden. Golden.
Yeah, good.
1802. It's a nicely toned one, nice condition. He had another one which is not as good, and he also has the little small denomination in a proof silver, which is interesting.
Quite an interesting swan dance as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they've been in a plastic album. He's been dead 21 years, so they've been in the album for years. But the Irving Goodman ones, for some reason or other, got spotty. But I didn't want to touch them. I know you could put a solvent on and get rid of the spots probably quite easily because it's on a gilt-proof surface. But I'll let the others decide because we buy them. What's this one I'm giving you? Oh, this is a gold coin, World Gold Coin. This is a popular. This comes from a Queensland collector who's been sending these coins. That's the Tabora Mint in East Africa, German East Africa, 15 rupian, 1916.
It's quite popular in Europe.
So it was locally made coin, not more or less in the field almost, not like the Veltbond, but they're quite crudely made, but they serve their purpose. Funnily enough, German East Africa, the sale when I sold the first VC 40 years ago, Towner's one, I also sold one to an Aussie who won it in German East Africa. It reminds me of it. And the same fellow sent me his nice collection of Kruger Ponds. Not Kruger Rands, but Kruger Ponds. This is an 1892 double shaft. Now the double shafts, the wagon and the bottom of the shield, there in the centre, the circle in the centre, and it's got two shafts, right? So that was the first design that was issued, and then they went to single shaft in later years. It's not bad condition for a double shaft.
Yeah. Quite a nice one, a Kruger.
The next one I'll show you is the scarce one, the single shaft. The only coin this guy didn't have in his series was the 1893 half pond, which goes for about 30 or 40,000. But this is the 1892 single shaft. And I think we've got 1,500 on that. Well, I think there's 20 odd Kruger Ponds in this auction. It's a big lot of them. Then we go on the final day, on the Friday in the morning, with ancient coins, starting with ancient gold. And there are some very good coins in the ancient coin. This is just to put in some more glamorous big gold coin, Alexander the Great. I think it's Alexander the Great, I'm not sure. Look it up.
Looks like it.
The style of it. What number is that?
But is it
3559.
It's Alexander on the reverse. Have a look.
3559. What is Philip? Philip III.
No, Philip.
Yeah, Philippus. So it's estimated at 3,000. It's from our sale in '98. Going back a little
This
while.
is the retarded brother, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip II was Alexander's father.
Yeah.
There's a nice Lysimachus, one of Alexander's generals, and they struck his coins with a deified portrait of Alexander himself, wearing the horn of Ammon. It's a nice example. All these coins are very popular overseas and selling strongly in auctions. But all you guys in Australia are slow and behind, and you let them go for bargain prices. Bid them up, I say. So that's the seated figure of Athena, a bit likened to Britannia in later coin issues.
The last wasn't it?
The King Lysimachus. This coin is, well, I'll have to look up because I just,
3638.
it's an unusual coin.
Come on, light, come back on.
3638 is a very rare Euboean silver stater of the town of Charistos. And it was issued by the son of a tyrant in 253 to 245 BC. And it's from the BCD collection.
Oh, yeah. Good look.
Somewhere
in the
along the
land
line
side.
here, there must be a
Oh,
kink.
Yeah, bigger.
Seems to be back in the
Yep.
yeah, I just thought it was an unusual style, and you probably, I haven't seen one before. You guys probably haven't seen it before.
Two-horse chariot.
There's one of my Queensland customers has sent me some of his ancient Greek coins. He's picked out. He just wanted to downsize his collection a little bit. And another chap who died, his widow, has given me some of his coins he had before he died. Said sell. But now we're trying to work on it. The ones he left to his son, trying to get him to include them in our next auction. She's not out in Australia till July, which is now. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a nice Athens. Nice.
The owl on the reverse.
Yep. Every collector should own one of these, shouldn't they?
I
Really?
agree. They're lovely coins.
What estimate do you have on 3641?
2,000. It's in lovely condition,
Very nice.
and the smiles there in the eye and the lips.
Yeah, okay, eye.
Yep, that's really nice.
Looks like Rodney by
Golden
by
Age
a
of
club.
Athens.
This is another interesting one I picked out from Peloponnesa, Siconia, Sicyon silver stater, and it's 3661. It's I'll tell you what's on the coin. It's a chimera, which is like a lion going to the right, and on the other side is a dove flying to the right.
The dove, yes, of the piece. Dove in the wreath.
It's from the BCD collection again. So we're seeing some wonderful coins of ancient Greece coming up in our sales.
Yeah. Here he is.
Of course, Colin catalogues most of our ancients. Richard Hurley does some.
Tail of a snake and the goat, head of a goat coming out its back.
Pretty painful.
That's the classic chimera. And otherwise the body of a lion, man.
Very nice.
There's a lot to learn, isn't there, David? If you,
It takes a lifetime, that's all.
yeah, you start learning about all
Whatever you can
the,
squeeze in.
all the gods and goddesses of ancient Greece. This is an interesting coin.
Is that a turtle, is it?
Well, it's interesting. It is
Cicada.
overstruck on a turtle. It's one of two that exist overstruck on a turtle. It's Cyclades, a place called Chios or Chorisios, a silver stater of 510 to 480 BC, and it's from the J.P. Lambros collection in 1887, acquired by Sir Herman Webber, and then Virgil Brand, and the present owner bought it at Sotheby's in 1984. I think I was there at one of those, at that sale at Sotheby's in London. 1984.
Interesting provenances. All the scandal going around the Isle of March Aureus. You wonder about provinces, they can invent them just as
Well, that's an important coin because these coins are illustrated in those references going way back. And this is a pedigree coin and it's only $10,000. Not the prettiest thing, but interesting academically, isn't it? And the final one is a Roman coin because I know some of you, and I just want to show you a couple of banknotes before we close. But this Roman coin starts the Imperial series, and it's a nice example of a denarius issued by Augustus. And it's lot number...
3782.
Ah, there it is. Yeah, with the wolf, a lion, sorry, devouring, attacking a deer. It's a money Imdermius. So it's an interesting sort of coin, crossover
Young Augustus.
of Republican to Imperial. The estimate on that's $2,000.
What's the reverse of it? What
It's got a lion attacking a stag.
Oh, yes.
I used to grab them further
Upside
back,
down?
you know.
Yeah, well, that's a classic Greek style of reverse.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an unusual one, you don't see them often.
no,
I've not seen one actually, to tell you the truth. I do have that reverse on a Greek coin from
okay,
Tarsus.
yeah.
It's a good bit, but that's a stater. Yeah, that's nice.
It comes from a C&G sale in 2003, coming from the Tony Hardy collection, whoever he was. So that's the end of the coins. Remember there's 5,000 lots nearly in this sale. I'll show you the banknotes, Rodney, because the banknotes are interesting because they used to bring very high prices once upon a time. But this chap, old chap, he tells me he paid in clearing a debt. He had to take the £100 note at 65,000. I put 40,000 on it. I don't know if he's going to be happy with my estimate. But we talked about it. I won't change it unless he insists. But that's a £20 note, which I've got 30,000 on because that's the rarest note, the £20. Until some turned up in Tasmania, they're almost unobtainable. In 1976, one of those sold at auction like that, maybe a bit better condition, for 36,000, when you could buy a holy dollar for a few $100. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That's the wood chopping scene. Because Mick Morton has written a lot about banknotes now since. I just thought I'd show them to you because we often don't show notes, but in the Australian series, these are the cream de la creme. That one there was 3486, the £20, and that's 3487, the 50, and then 3488 is the 100. Three of them in a row.
You had the three.
This guy had the 3 notes. So that was nice to kick off the advertising for the auction. Because, you know, when you start with nothing, you've got to, what can I build this around? What can I brag about?
Always like the inscription. The promise
Well, it's been a while since I've had
Commonwealth to pay the
Not a long
promises to
time.
pay the bearer £50. It used to be £50 troy weight of silver, but you could never take it anywhere to get it, right?
Well, they used to be payable in gold. Later on they had them, it says in gold coin, on demand at the Commonwealth Treasury or the seat of government, and signed by Serity.
Yep, and they
He's the one that
promise to
had that-
pay in gold, do they?
Yeah, gold,
Okay.
not silver.
Could you actually ever do it? What,
Why did
probably
you
you
say
could in the
silver?
early days, yeah.
Why did you say silver?
The pound was always based on the silver. So a troy pound of
Oh.
silver was a pound,
Okay.
because the English had the, you know, their original pennies were all silver. They didn't
Yeah.
have any gold currency for a
That's
long
right.
time.
Yeah, so these all our notes up until 1933 were exchangeable in gold. I'd
Yeah.
love to go along with these notes and see what gold I'd get.
Well, these probably are worth more than the gold would be. You know, 50 sovereigns of not. Oh no, sovereigns of 33 probably rarer, but
Well, there's 100 sovereigns in that note.
yeah.
That's
And what do you got on that?
40,000.
How much is 100 sovereigns?
Oh,
I
about
prefer to have
about-
sovereigns.
100 sovereigns would be
In the same condition.
70,000. 70,000.
Yeah,
70,000.
yeah, yeah.
Don't tell the vendor, he might try and take the reserve back.
I think the Reserve Bank are very sort of unsure of what they're doing.
Yeah,
Do you recall,
no problem.
you know, when the Americans, when Roosevelt banned gold, Australia had a law which sort of
You couldn't
shadowed it.
own it. You couldn't own gold.
But they never passed it in Australia, did they? It was sort of, everyone went along with it.
When I bought a gold coin from Stacks of Elizabeth, I had to record it. I
Yeah,
had to get permission to buy it.
okay.
And it was recorded on behalf of the Reserve Bank. And you were only allowed to have, as a collector, 5 coins.
No.
Yeah, it was very restricted
Yeah.
When was that? When are you saying that was, Stu?
in the early 60s,
Yeah, but
late 50s.
people used to bring sovereigns into the bank. And
Yeah,
you'd
you
give them-
could do it. That's what you had to do.
It was some
£3, 17 and 6.
£3, 12 and 6 or something.
Yeah. The gold price was fixed at 35 US an ounce in 1933 and remained right through to 1972.
Actually, I think you got it wrong.
71.
It was when Roosevelt made the
71.
law, he only paid
Nixon.
$20 an ounce, or 20 and a bit something dollars an ounce. And as soon as he got it all in, then he revalued to $35. So therefore,
Yeah, well, they had to do something. They were in
Yeah.
depression.
yeah, but it didn't
What are they
work. I
going to
mean,
do today? That'll be interesting.
Well, they're taking money out of existence altogether. You'll have a card
CBD.
and you'll have a serial number, and
Have you signed the?
you'll have to do as you're told.
oh, that's right. I got to sign that.
The conspiracy theorists are talking
Got a
about
pen?
what they're building in Saudi Arabia, which is a line, which is a, and you can go and live in that, and you're allowed to walk for a distance of 5 minutes any direction within the.
Sign above it.
Got the 15 minutes that he's in
Sign above your name.
Above.
And the rich people of the world are going to have their secret city in Kazakhstan, hidden in the. You know, it's a fact. Listen, people talk about these things. What to believe? Well, you can believe in these coins; they're real. This is real money. Oh, who's that bloke?
He's a TV star.
I didn't put my jacket on. I'll be
No.
criticised at home because
no, you look pretty
well, I
sloppy.
thought he'd want me to do finger thing, and my coat's frayed, and I didn't want that comment.
I
at
didn't
all.
recognise you at first. So, gee, Jim's done well, isn't she?
Star of stage, screen, and television.
Anyway, it was fun. He's a good bloke, Mike Dalton. But he knew I knew I'd get him in on the VC. John wrote him a little note, an email, and he got in. Had the jump on our press release, which went out today. I haven't had any emails yet, but they all email you back. Thanks for your email, and you know. But if it picks up, it could get quite a bit of publicity. it'll take a competition to the people who think they're going to buy it from one of you guys.
That's fine, Dave.
Why don't you, as a group, pitch together? You know, the Australian Numismatic Society buy this Victoria Cross.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
See what numbers come up with.
Some treasurers these days.
Store it safely in Indonesia.
It came from close to
Well,
20.
I guess for these people, it's a big wrench to part with it, but under the circumstances, they need to get a house for a son, one of them, and various needs for money, and they can't take it with them, and they've
true.
got to look after it.
That's true.
It's a real treasure. It'll end up in the War Memorial in one way or another, I'm sure, unless someone buys it and says no, they're not having it.
But it'll still end up there. You can always
On display. Well, you can own it, and that's what I said to Mike. He didn't put it on the news, but I said Lord Ashcroft can own it, but he just can't take it out of the country. So some of these, like this is a Category A item, you cannot take it out at all.
Yeah.
You could have all the excuses in the world. You want to take it for an exhibition? No, not
No.
allowed. It's interesting. They're very strict
Well,
about it,
that-
and that
everyone's
protects the
doing
War
that these days.
Memorial with their collection. They've got about 90 nearly there, 78 or 85 or something. Out of the possible 90 odd, now they've got these new ones coming out. The Ben Robert Smith type, the Australian VC. There's been about 3 or 4 of those awarded, hasn't there? So different modern wars.
Would they have any English ones? I wonder if they've got.
Oh, the
Australian.
War Memorial.
Yes,
They
yes.
could have. I mean, we had. I think that one in East Africa, the guy might have been English. I think it went to the War Memorial. I'm not sure. I remember that sale. There was an old bloke there, and he ended up buying, and for 70-odd thousand.
Did you see the extensions they're doing of the War Memorial?
Oh yeah, and Kim Beasley.
Mind-boggling.
Kim Beasley's the director there now, and he used to come across to see us here and buy Byzantine coins, and you know icons, Russian icons. He's all that sort of art and history, interesting. But he's the director, and he knows our business, our company, so maybe he'll recommend that the Treasury puts aside $20 million for Mr. Noble's VC. That'll be good. Listen, this is going on YouTube. Cut it. Bit of entertainment. Well, thank you anyway. Any questions?
No, thank you. Yeah, any questions? No,
Do you want to go over there?
they'll all come up during the talk. Thank you very much for allowing that. So look, Jim, just if I may, present you with our certificate of appreciation. So we should be supplying you binders, I know, but
I'll find one. Thank you, Dave. I've got quite a lot of them squeezed in the library. Thank you.
So, thank you for that. We do appreciate what you do and do enjoy it too.
This will be a unique little collection.
It'll be wallpaper.
Different signature.
Yes, the first time from David. It's a treat. And dear John's dearly departed. John Veltmeyer was very good. Always organised for it.
I shall go put the kettle on.
Actually, his daughter called in today to say hello. She was in town. I said, just bring things in on the weekend. Just pull up out the front. She's mesmerised with what he's got. He had a safe and he had some stuff in there, but he's got lots of other bulky stuff. It's probably. I said, just bring it all in, and I'll take photos or whatever, because they live quite a distance from Heathcote. They live up at Turramurra, and the other daughter lives at Warrawee, and they're, But I'm thinking about all these elongated cents and what sort of market there'll be for those. And he had a lot of 1 and 2 cent pieces to make those things. Yeah. He's been around a long time. He was in computers in a big way. My stepson Ashley was working for him for a while. And he's Dutch as well, same as my wife Anki. You know, there's interesting little connections there. But he was taken young because of cancer, I guess. So every day counts, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes, it does. So, unfortunately, we're all headed that way. Don't get any younger, as they say. But you can feel young.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I do. When I go for my 20-minute walk and then my swim in the freezing cold pool, I feel young. I feel I can survive.
Yeah.
Livens me up. People think I'm crazy, but it's
No, I'm sure it's good for you. Very good.
yeah.
I wish I could say I do
It
the
doesn't
same.
cause
but
a
I
heart
don't.
attack.
No. Well, you've got to get your heart checked out. You should always go to your specialist and have a checkup once every year or two. Blood test,
Yeah.
see if anything's developing. Well, don't smoke. That's the most
Don't
important
smoke,
thing.
yeah, that's right.
You tell that to a smoker. Doctor's been struggling with that.
Yeah.
Even Bill Myra smoked until he got a stroke and was
Yeah.
unconscious for about 2 weeks. He gave up smoking then.
It weaned him off, did it?
His first wife Judy used to smoke too, you see.
Right.
It was the thing, was the fashion in the old
That was
days.
the thing, that's right. That's right.
The Dutch smoke, I mean, like chimneys, you know.
Yeah.
I hardly met a Dutchman who doesn't smoke.
Well, once you smoked for 2 weeks or so, you're addicted.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, luckily I never took it up. I took up alcohol, but I haven't become an alcoholic. But, you know, I gave up for a while when I had the flu for 3 weeks. I thought, I'm losing weight. I've lost 3 kilos. But I've weakened recently and, you know,
Yeah. Moderation. Moderation and everything.
back to the usual weight. All this on YouTube.
The truth will out.
Scan around and see how many have got grey hair and see this boy still got his
See how
own-
many have got hair. Forget the grey hair
They
bit.
always...
No,
Everyone else but me.
creeps in.
Grant's still got dark hair.
Looking
Yeah,
at the
no,
photo
the
that
young
John
ones,
Pern
that's
sent
right,
down at the
yeah.
convention in Coffs Harbour, I thought, look at all these old grey-haired men. Is
Yep.
that what coin collecting's come to?
Yeah, well, that's true. We had a few young ones up there. I mean,
Yeah.
Kevin wasn't all that old.
Yeah.
He-
No, that's
No.
what you need. You need
Working
encourage.
sideways.
I try to encourage young people, but being so busy, it's hard for me to spend the time with them. But sometimes we give something away to a young bloke here. They're a bit overawed by it all. But I remember when I started out collecting, I liked going into coin shops and having a look at something and buying it, negotiating and buying something.
Where you developed all your
Pity
skills.
we can't tap into the young people that are all into these $2 coins.
Jim, can we have our coffee around the table here?
Yeah, sure. Not a
Okay.
They're all
problem.
mad over these $2
As soon as the kettle's
coins.
boiled. Who wants tea and who wants coffee?
Oh, that's coffee.
Coffee?
Before you start, is there
too strong, you wanna
Petersham on
handle
this week, this month?
Sorry?
Petersham.
Petersham on this month?
If there's a fifth Sunday,
Yeah, it
it'll be
is.
Petersham. I think
Oh,
it's
well,
this month. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is this month.
Well, it's going to clash with the Perth
Saturday
show
was the 2nd.
and the
So
show in Perth.
2nd, 9, 16, 23,
Not many,
30th.
not many dealers from here are
The
going.
30th, Graham. 30th of July is Petersham.
Good.
I'm going to move my